Hello, and welcome to IPN Podcast. My name is Joanne Cox.
Hi, I'm Nanette Buchanan, and this is Let's Talk About It. And today, we're going to talk about something that most people don't do.
They don't even realize it, but this title is called Clearly Speaking.
Okay.
And that can be sort of vague.
It can be vague, but it's so important that you do. Following the rules to language is such a hard thing, especially now. I can remember growing up when we thought about this topic. I can remember growing up that we only had a language barrier because people spoke a different language. And we didn't have so many languages. We only had maybe Spanish. Mm-hmm. Maybe you would run into a few people that spoke French. Mm-hmm. People that spoke Italian spoke English. People that spoke Portuguese spoke English. Mm-hmm. People that spoke any other language spoke English.
Their second language is always English.
They spoke English. So you didn't have as many barriers as you have here. And that's just one, is being able to hear what the person is saying. And hearing and listening, we know is not the same. But if I'm listening closely and you're not speaking clearly, you're not doing these elements that we're going to share with you, then that also becomes a very difficult barrier.
And I think I like that term they use in therapy when they say, and this is what I heard you say.
Yes.
And you repeat it back.
Yes.
Because of the fact that just because you heard the words, somewhere in between when they left my lips and reach your ear, you put some stuff on it.
Well, the interpretation.
And you changed it.
Yeah.
The interpretation.
You used to play that game.
Yes. Are you
telephone? Telephone.
I don't know. Was it the telephone?
Yeah. Remember you would be in a line.
Yeah, and you whisper
in somebody's ear.
I didn't know it was called that. Yes.
And it goes all the way down to the last line. And it didn't fail. Every time it would get to the last person, it would be something entirely different. Sometimes it wouldn't even have the same people's names in it. It might not have the same color in it. It may not have anything to do with the topic that the first person started with.
So funny. And in a world of today, I think communication is so important, but we use the word communicate, but in actuality, what is the person comprehending? Because sometimes it's just about pronunciation and enunciation.
And that's what I was talking about when I said the language barrier.
Yeah.
That a lot of times that's what it is.
Yes.
But if it was just that simple.
Yes.
But it's no longer that simple.
Because the viewers might know that I have braces on now, so I try to be clear in my speech. And I know most of the viewers have had the experience of calling a company and you've got the customer service person on, but they don't speak clear language of English.
Well, that's funny because I've seen on social media where it's been posted, you tell me to push 1 for English and I still can't understand the person. So you can't understand what they're saying. So my thing is, when you can't understand what the person is saying when they speak another language, we automatically ask again for them to repeat it. But how often do we ask again for them to repeat it when we clearly heard them, but we don't understand?
Because we don't know that we didn't understand.
When we clearly heard you say, go to the door, open the door, close it back, and you go to the door, open the door, and walk through it.
Because somehow in that communication verbally, you shut down. And either you dropped the last words or you didn't hear it. Now, how many times have you text someone and you had a series of 3 things and they did the first 2 or they did the first and the last one? Is that connecting to what's important to them? What do we mean when we say clearly speaking?
Well, not only that, you brought up another good point. What's important to them? That's the parts that they pull out. That's the components that they pull out. And they select those things. And they say, I heard you. But no, you selected what you wanted to hear. You didn't hear my whole message. I'm not talking about when the fuzz comes up and it crinkles in the phone and you can't hear. I'm not talking about when the computer makes a glitch and spells the word the wrong way when you hit the enter button and it spells a whole different word.
No.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you clearly heard what you thought you heard, but you never ever went back to find out, especially when my favorite thing has been, especially in text messages now, I just put a whole lot of questions. Question marks. I just put all the question marks there. I'm not even going to go into saying what I thought you said. Because then that's going to be a back and forth.
Yes.
When we say it in the most limited time. I don't have time on this text to constantly tell you, I thought you said, or I heard you to say. No. If I gotta put thought you said or I heard you to say,
you could go ahead.
I just need the question marks. Question mark, question mark, question mark. And now you, in turn, to get that word across to me, or what you want me to do, or what you want me to be aware of, now you can clarify what it is. It's the same as if we just simply asked you, I heard you to say, and then you clarify it. But when we're text messaging, we don't have time to do all of that.
No,
we don't have space to do all of that.
And you shouldn't waste that time.
And that's what it is. We want to make things concise.
Yes.
And we want to make them clear, concise, and consistent. You don't want to use a word one way and then use it another way later on. Be consistent with what you're saying. If you said, go to the door, turn the knob, and close the door. Don't go there and go to the door, turn the gold knob. Now I'm looking for two knobs. you know, no. You want to be concise. You want to keep it as short as possible to get the best result possible.
Yes, and have you heard the conversation? And I'm guilty of this because I have a lot going on up here. I will say, to make a long story short. Now, okay, that's a statement that I could have left out and made the story short, because what they need to hear is a valid point. What is it that I want you to know? Especially when it comes to directions or information that you need to hear. I don't need to tell a story about it. And some people get into the storytelling of it, and next thing you know, it was just like, really? And when I call people, literally call, so many people are texting and email, but when I call someone, I'll say, do you have 10 minutes? And you know what? I say, I have the clock in front of me. I feel that their time is so valuable that I don't want them to pick up that phone and not be able to conversate with me because I have something that's going to take 5 minutes. But now if you start to question me and it go past that, I will literally say, our 10 minutes are up, but I do have more time. And I am trying to say clearly that what I wanted to get across, I've done my job.
And not only that, the other thing too is that if you have a limited time to get the message across, don't dangle about what it is. You know, even if it's not the long story short, it's the added words. Well, no, don't beat around the bush.
Yes.
Get directly to the point. If somebody, and that happens a lot of times when we have situations where we just don't know how to say it. We just don't know what to tell you.
That happens, yes.
You put the person at caution when you do that type of stuff. You give them a whole emotional change when you don't want to come out and directly say what it is you're calling about or what it is you're trying to say. Say what you have to say and give it that limited amount of time, and then just let them know, just listen to what I have to say, and then we'll deal with the questions. Well, now you put them on alert that you need to hear me.
That's a good example. I like that.
You know, you need to hear me.
Yes.
So that when it comes back to me, the questions that you ask are not haphazard questions. They're direct questions to what I'm saying. You can put someone on alert without putting them in a apprehensive, like
panic mode as well.
You can do that, but you just tell them, you need to hear me. You need to listen for a minute. Just take the time to hear me out.
Yes.
And then that way, now you've got their full attention because they understand this is not something that is vague. You're going to give me the direct information.
Yes. And the point here is we can have more meaningful conversations. Even if it's on a social level, we can have more meaningful conversations if we have that subject. Just like people always say, a vision, plan, and action. Well, we need to know, what do we want to get from this conversation? You know, how do we want to turn this around? You know, even if it's something fun. The thing is, let's just say it, we can get more information out and bring it there. Have you talked to people and they're telling you about what happened last year in connection with this, and we need to know that it happened on July 4th? No, wait a minute.
We don't need to know dates.
It was June 26th, wasn't it? Oh no, I don't know. And then when they tell you the information, it didn't matter what the date was.
The date really might not even have any connection at all to what the story is.
Now,
it might not be necessary at all. Now, there's other communications. Where you need to have all of that. You need to have dates. You need to have times. You need to have a recall that is almost a written out guideline and summary of what went on. But most of the time, that's in a professional aspect, talking to officers about an incident that might have happened, talking to your doctor about your health, talking to the teacher about the subjects and your children. There may be a reason for you giving dates and detailed information and extra information, and you want to say, you know what, I remember this went on, or you know what, let me add this, because it may give some credence to what you're trying to find out, what you're searching for. So there may be,
this is good.
There may be
I like that.
information that you have to add in and give detail to. But if you're just talking to someone that needs no detail, the conversation needs no detail, the topic needs no detail, don't give all of that.
Yes.
Get right to the point. If you're doing a speech or speaking engagement, you don't want to drag it all out. From the time you were born, I thought I was a speaker. You know, my mother was teaching me the ABCs and I thought I was a speaker. No, you don't need to add all of that stuff in. You don't need to tell them about your first church play where you don't need all of that to say, I'm a speaker.
Yes.
You don't need all of that. So you need to be concise. You needed to conform to being concise and consistent.
Now, I've seen this on like comedy shows or, you know, sitcoms or whatever, but this happens between my husband and I don't know if it has to do with age, but we have carried on 10 to 15 minute conversations and we weren't even talking about the same thing. And it was like...
Or don't remember what the topic was once you got to the end.
Yeah, you know.
You don't remember what it was that started.
Yeah, you know. But it was just like, excuse
what was we
me,
talking about?
You know. What are you talking about? Because that's not what I was talking about. But yet you were adding to what I had to say. And how can you do that? Because somehow in the beginning of the conversation,
got confused.
You never had that main point. If you don't have a main point, people just keep adding to what you say, and now one person is talking about traveling to Alabama, and you were talking about what you were going to cook. Well, I thought you said something about Food Lion. No, I ain't talking about Food Lion. I'm talking about the trip to Alabama, you know.
And it happens. Miscommunication happens more often than not. And the thing is, how much of the miscommunication is done that causes us to do things that are not what we expected to get done, be done, or is undone.
Yes.
Because when we get back, I didn't really know what you said. Well, why didn't you call me?
Pick up the phone.
I didn't
make it clear.
Ask the question. Part of communication is asking the question. Ask the question. What you don't know, you don't know.
And sometimes you just need to ask that question. What is it you want from me?
Or okay, I heard you, but what does that have to do with me? How do I fit in to what you're saying? I understand this needs to be done, but where does my skills come in? And how do I get you to feel complete with what you want me to do if I don't understand what the task even entails? And
the lead person can sometimes just say, I just need to air this out.
And that's another thing.
And that's okay.
If someone's airing something out, could you give them the air? Could you just let them go?
And that's what they're saying. I don't want you to fix my problem. I just need to get this off my chest. So when you say that, they should relax and just say, he or she needs to air this out. And listen.
And sometimes your response to the communication does just what Joanne did. Mentally, your mind and your brain is saying, I just need to let it go. You don't have to say it verbally, but mentally, that's what your mind is saying. I just need to sit back and listen. Now, the other thing, we all talked about, clearly speaking and everything else. Don't let your mouth say something that your eyes and your face ain't saying.
They need to match. You don't want to say, I'm so sorry to hear about that.
And you laughing. Yeah. How you laughing and you feeling sorry?
No.
It doesn't match.
Yeah.
So the communication is mixed again.
And what about this body language? I hear everything that you're saying. And the person is talking, but you're walking away.
Or turning your back.
That is so disrespectful. You're saying you're not honoring what I say. You're not honoring my time.
So the communication doesn't have to be verbal. It could be nonverbal. And sometimes the nonverbal communication overtakes the verbal communication. And the thing that Joanne opened with was the thing of just saying simply, I heard you say. I understood you to mean. Is this exactly what you're saying? You can preface that with a short term. You don't have to repeat the whole paragraph that they said or the whole incident that went on. But when they say, I really feel bad, and they tell you what they feel bad about, you could tell them, so you feel bad because of this. And now they can understand that you've listened to the entire thing. You understand what they're talking about. And you got it. So when they begin to continue with whatever it is, they know that you're there with them.
Exactly.
They know that the next step that they have to do, or whatever advice or whatever feedback you're going to give them, is going to relate to what they feel bad about. But you can't get that if you don't listen. You have to listen.
And before we close this segment out, the whole purpose of this is saying, clearly speaking, this can affect you with your marriage, with your job, and with your social activities. So we want to get the most out of life by being able to be clear, to have good pronunciation, enunciation, and then to separate those gestures as well as what we are saying with our mouth.
And not only that, remember connotation. I just want to bring that up. A lot of times people are talking and they say words and they don't realize what the connotation of the word is. Men, when you're talking to men, especially our African American men, when you talk to those men and you say boy, that connotation of boy turns the whole conversation. They don't hear nothing else you said after that. When you say, oh, yo, boy, come here a minute. Boy, come here. Come do this for me. Whoever it is, they have now blocked you out totally because they don't want to be addressed as boy. It's the same thing as addressing women with derogatory names or slang or anything like that. When you use these new slang terms and you use these things, be sure the person is aware of what the meaning of it is. If it's a joke, if it's a nickname, if it's whatever it is, let them be aware of it, because you'll miscommunicate simply because they missing you. They not listening to what you're saying.
It's called shutdown.
Once you get to that word, they have no longer heard what you're saying or anything else, because their mind has reacted to that trigger, which is the connotation of that word. So you have to be careful of how you put your words out there.
And when you said that, I immediately thought of things that bother me. And I believe it's a Southern thing, but when a staff person at a restaurant or whatever, and they say, what else can I get for you, honey or baby? That just rubs me the wrong way. I am not your honey and I'm not your baby. And it's women saying that, and they think nothing of it. Now, if a man turned around and said that same thing, we would go off because that man said to that woman, honey and baby.
Exactly. Or if they said honey or baby to your husband and sitting there, they talking to them talking about honey or baby.
Yes.
You know, so the thing about
know.
it is the connotation of the words, and in the professional
Thanks
atmosphere.
for bringing that up. Yes.
Yeah, in a professional atmosphere, you have to keep it professional. And you've never been to a professional training or professional seminar or workshop where they've used slang. They just don't use the slang because of the simple fact that it gives the connotation. You don't know what it's going to turn out to be. So you want to remain professional. The same thing with your text messages, your emails, when you write up summaries and you do different things. Keep it professional because you've cut off the communication the minute that you misspell 4 or 5 words. I don't feel like reading the rest of this. I already know that this thing is a mess. I don't feel like going through all of that. Or you're using short-term text. You know, you're not spelling all the words all the way out. This is an email. This is not a text. Why are they writing you for you and you are for your? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that in an email. Text is a little different, you know, and most of the time we're not texting people professionally. Right. We're texting people, you know, that we know in a relationship of some sort because they have our phone number. And if it is a professional text that you're sending, make sure it's a professional text just like your email would be professional. Keep your communication concise, conformed, complete, and professional. Don't use the connotations because somebody misinterpret that connotation. You got a problem.
It creates a whole different feel. And so with that being said,
I say. The most important thing in communication is to hear. And we do that only with our ears. What is being said? That's the most important part. If the message doesn't get through, what good is the message? So with that, I want you to hear me and hear me good. Please subscribe for our every Thursday streaming. Give us a comment. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're doing for communication. What changes have you made? Maybe in your relationships. Maybe you got to be a better communicator in your marriage or with your kids. What about on your job? What about in your business? Are you communicating on social media to the point where you're drawing in your audience? Are they hearing you? Send us a comment. Let us know.
And that comment would let us know that you received the message we were putting out.
That's right. Thank you so much for being a part of our show. We welcome you every week, and we want to hear from you.
Until next time, bye-bye.